For more than 70 years, the American dollar has reigned supreme as the world's reserve currency. As somebody who's been traveling the globe actively for decades, this fact used to be plainly evident, as just about everywhere I went, you could buy things in dollars just as easily as in local currency. On a recent trip to China, however, I noticed something strange. Items for sale in the duty-free, which had been priced in dollars, were now priced in euros. To many tourists, this may have been an afterthought, but to me, it signaled a frightening transition. The dollar was losing its ground. People in foreign lands, who had once treated the dollar as if it were gold, were looking for alternatives. And the reason pointed to a truth that all of us, you and me included, are soon going to have to live with every day. You see, there was a time when the American dollar was backed by something: gold. It meant, in plain terms, that you could, if you really wanted, enter an exchange center and actually redeem your dollars for the same precious metal which has symbolized wealth for more than 5,000 years. Gold, the universal mechanism for storing and transferring wealth, was what every dollar in your pocket represented. In the early 1970s, however, all of that ended when President Nixon decided to suspend the dynamic indefinitely. That was the moment when the dollar, no longer backed by gold, began its decades-long transition into what was essentially an imaginary currency. When Nixon made the historic decision, the danger of debasing the dollar into non-existence wasn't much of a threat. Thanks to World War II, the world was flooded with American-made goods and commodities, and traded those goods and commodities using dollars. Even when the U.S. wasn't directly involved in a transaction, that transaction had to be executed using our currency, because there simply was no alternative. Like I said, for decades after Nixon's controversial decision, the dollar maintained its status. If Russia and Saudi Arabia wanted to trade oil, for example, they would use dollars. If China and Japan wanted to trade automobiles, same deal. Everything worked out just fine until the recession of 2008, when the federal government decided to take matters into its own hands to stimulate the economy. It started printing dollars, over $80 billion per month, in order to pay off its own debts and indirectly pump the stock market. As the issuer of the world's reserve currency, the Federal Reserve, which was controlled by our government, had the unique ability to do just that: keep printing money, keep the economy rolling, prevent disaster. The problem is you can't keep doing that forever. What the Fed was doing, in essence, was exactly what the ancient Greeks did when they started mixing tin with gold to increase the number of coins in circulation. Eventually, their trade partners took notice. Their coins lost their buying power, their economy collapsed, their empire collapsed. Flash forward 2,500 years, and the same exact thing was happening to the all-powerful dollar. More dollars printed, but no value added, to the tune of 10 trillion. With the world's dollar supply more than doubled, but no gold or anything else of real value to back it up, the practical worth of every individual dollar out there was cut in half. You didn't feel this loss of wealth immediately because, just like it did with the Greeks, it would take time, years, before the truth caught up to the illusion. That moment, however, is now here. The first step: nations start doing business in other currencies, bypassing the dollar entirely because of its instability. And who could blame them? To date, more than 30 nations, including major world economies like China, Russia, and Australia, have signed bilateral agreements to trade using something besides our dollars. Contracts to trade oil and other essential commodities in currencies such as the Chinese yuan are now in place. That takes away our ability to simply print our way out of recession. It dilutes our economic hold over the world. It will, soon enough, dilute your ability to buy things you need, like milk and bread. A temporary solution, taken to the extreme, has undone decades of empire building and is now threatening widespread societal collapse right here at home. If what I'm saying sounds like panic or alarmism, trust me, it's not. I'm not worried about terrorists, viral pandemics, cyber attacks, or massive land invasions 1/100th as much as I am about this. It's the quiet crisis that we've been steadily walking towards since 2008. A crisis that's been developing right under our noses as our government convinced us at every opportunity that things were getting better. And the worst part is, when this does come, nobody in the know will be shocked. Currency debasing has been the cause of many of history's greatest collapses. Ancient Greece, which I already mentioned, ancient Rome, even 20th century Germany went through the same thing. When the Weimar Republic inflated the Deutschmark to the point where people had to cart around their money in wheelbarrows, the nation fell into chaos. led directly to the rise of Adolf Hitler, and a few years later, it led to the start of the Second World War. That's how real the problem is. Your own family members who fought in that war saw it with their own eyes. Make no mistake, it's coming. It's past the point of no return. Our biggest trade partners are already preparing for it. It's time that you started to prepare as well, or prepare to face the consequences.
If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe to the Wealth Daily YouTube channel using the button below. For even more investing tips and commentary, sign up for our free newsletter right here.